Padmasambhava's body is perfect. Welcome back. This is Buddhist Books Podcast. Episode 300, which of course ends in a 0. And that means we're reading The Life and Liberation of Padmasambhava today. This is Padmasambhava Part 21 on Buddhist Books Podcast. Here's the playlist if you want to start with Padmasambhava Part 1 or any of the others. In which we're going to read Canto 42. So many beautiful numbers, 300, 21, 42. All right, so, and we just recently, I mentioned it before, but we just turned 4 years old. By we, I mean Buddhist Books Podcast. We started on December 5th of 2021, and it's now December 17th, I think. And anyway, so I hope everybody's doing well, and I'm looking forward to today's reading. So without further ado, let's get to it. Canto 42. Mandurava gives praise, and the invading army is driven from Zahur. Okay. Then the king spoke to the ministers, quote, "Bring Princess Mandurava here." End quote. The ministers made haste to remove the lids that covered the hole, and they tossed the thorns to either side. Quote, "Your father has summoned you to the palace. Come with us, princess." End quote. But for all they could say or repeat, she pretended not to hear. The ministers returned to the king. Quote, "The princess is angry and gives no reply." End quote. The king at once began to shed tears. Quote, "The girl is right. Have her mother go to her." End quote. And the queen went, taking clothes with her. Quote, "Princess, all these thorns bestrew your skin and flesh. The deities do not accept this. It is pitiable. Put on these clothes, my daughter, and come to the palace." End quote. But after her mother had spoken, the girl rejoined, quote, "Mother, a daughter does not go against her father's command. For 25 human years, I am not to leave this place, and though it is dreadful indeed, here I remain." End quote. The queen said, quote, "So even for a moment you refuse to leave?" End quote. Quote, "I shall remain," end quote, the girl replied. Their hearts failing them, the queen and her serving women burst into tears. One woman came up, then 2, then many gathered, and the crowd, made up of the women of Zahur, weeping, filled the lonely valley. The king wondered if his daughter was dead, so he himself came to see the princess. Quote, "It is I who barricaded my daughter's path to the Dharma. May she bestow one thought on her repentant father. The higher I have striven to rise, the deeper I have sunk. Having neglected the true meaning, I am overcome by grief and sadness." End quote. His heart failed him, and he sighed. At this, the princess returned to the palace. Once more, beholding the master's face, she took refuge in him with all her heart. She bowed very low, and, having thus prostrated herself, she praised him in lyric tones. Quote, "Emaho." I don't know how the song went, but I believe she's singing this. Here are the lyrics. "To the land without virtue he has come, this Buddha incarnate, endowed with powers and intrepidities, moved by neither hope nor fear, a prodigy visible from everywhere, a living bliss, born from a lotus stalk, glorious in its white and red brilliance, his person decorated with the signs of the miraculous, and, as his beauteous aspects and the 32 favorable signs reveal, Buddha of the 3 times, Padmasambhava's body is perfect. Many, filled with respect, have been converted by him. He is a pure body of fruition, with all its signs and beauties, a presence like that of Mount Meru, in its splendid massiveness and height, his head rounded like a kingly mountain, like a chalice, his hair like a black jewel, like a blue lotus, his forehead wide like the full moon, his long dark eyes like great stars in the ascendant, eyebrows like a great Garuda that has spread its wings, lashes beautiful like the Garuda's outstretched feathers, ears like blossoming lotuses, the nose pure and delightful to behold, lips beautiful as lotus anthers, his tongue long, thin, and supple, red like a lotus, his teeth white and in splendid array, having the pinkish glow of snow mountains, their garland of 58 enhancing his mouth, his chin majestic in the calm face, his voice like a songbird singing Brahma's melodies, long mustachios like the black hounds of the alpine slopes, complexion pale rose like a seashell, his throat graceful like the neck of a lustral vase, his chest like that of a lion that rears up, his upper arms rounded with wide shoulders and limbs, fingers and toes well formed and evenly arrayed, his nails red as copper and shining like crystal, his navel pretty, like the hollow of a lotus stalk, the calves of his legs prominent, like those of the king of the antelopes, his pace agile, like an evanescent rainbow, his sexual organs withdrawn, as with the horse and elephant, young like the harvest, his figure stoutly formed, his mouth smiling, spellbinding, immaculate, a shape one looks on with delight, without ever tiring, resembling an edifice radiant with light, his taste perfect and restrained, his saintliness most excellent and sublime, a man stainless as is the diamond. These are the 32 auspicious marks of Padmasambhava. Praise to the body of the conquering prince. End quote. Having concluded this hymn, she bowed down to him repeatedly. He replied, speaking with a happy air as though to himself, quote, "Misery's causes will always be the same. There are those who now are looked on as enemies, detestable enemies one consigns to the 3 damnations, but present enemies are readily changed into dear ones. Of those near and dear, of the ones we know as such at present, the closest and dearest friend is the Lama. He points out the useful path and turns us away from the path of unhappiness. Our affectionate relatives and friends teach all and anyone teachings which are incorrect, and after several bad examples, one falls into bad rebirths. For him who seeks what he does not have, Failure to find it is wretchedness. For such a man, the property and pleasures he has are not enough. Even if he seeks and finds property and current pleasures, the 7 precious jewels, though sought, cannot be found. And still not cherishing what he has, he suffers, for his present friends and wealth are not enough. In ourselves there is a Buddha, but covered over and lost to view. Not knowing our identity, even if we try, we cannot see it. As much as we know that attainment arises from difficulties, so much do we gain. As much as we know that obstacles are a gift, so much do we destroy all obstacles. End quote. Hearing these words, the princess was transported with joy. Then she and the royal estate offered to the incarnate being, liberated from the passions, a Sintamani, boundless treasury of riches, and life pills for 7 births. They implored Padma to set turning the wheel of the Dharma, and he consented. Having been asked to remain as king as long as he could, he replied, quote, "I will remain with the people of Zahur until they gain maturity in the teachings," end quote. And he opened up the unified precepts, that ocean of the Dharma. The Buddha doctrine spread out with neither limit nor center, and the 10 directions of space were filled with Padma's fame. As wisdom repelled the shadows, future delights seemed pallid by compare. Many promised to follow the Dharma, and pure virtue bloomed. Padma, the conquering prince, transformed this region which was to be converted. There was not one being who did not reach maturation in the teachings. Now, having heard stories, emissaries from other lands traveled to Zahur. Having listened and observed, each one reported what he had found back to his king. Quote, "Nothing except chimeras and mirages," end quote, judged the monarchs. So the neighboring king raised an army to battle with Padma. The son of Kirtidara, Mahapala, king of India, made an incursion with his followers. The men of Zahur scratched out the soil to redden the stones. Some stationed themselves above, others below, and others urged them on. As they were making ready a new terrain, Padma, the holy saint of victory, in a flash arrived at the dwelling of the Titans, borrowed a bow and invincible arrows, and loaded them on a huge elephant. For the arrows shot from this bow were worth 1,000 men. With them he sent on ahead 2 athletes, whom he hurled into the enemy's midst. Quote, "Here is a weapon that takes the place of soldiers," end quote, went the comment from emplacement to emplacement. The news spread as on wings and reached Mahapala. Now the bow, despite the efforts of these valiant men, would not yield. Quote, "It will not stretch. It is false. If it really is dependable, make it bend," end quote, the soldiers demanded. On elephant back, the bow was conveyed to Padma, and when it was called out, quote, "Stretch the bow and shoot," end quote, the victorious one, in his own way, bent the mighty bow. The legions of champions were all astounded. Quote, "That is impossible," end quote, said the soldiers, and they melted away. Quote, if in the whole army of the other king there is a single hero, let him stretch this bow. End quote. No one stepped forward to try his chance, but the enemy demanded, quote, produce the man who can stretch this bow. End quote. The victorious one sent forth Vishnurahula, and he hit a target at 10 leagues distance. Beholding the bodhisattva's feat of archery, the astonished enemy withdrew, and on the hero's head reposed an 11-headed crown, his body spangled with eyes, and his fame as an armed warrior was widely proclaimed. Of the history unabridged, of the lives of the Guru of Udayana, Padmasambhava, this is the 42nd canto. The invading army, driven from Zahur. Sealed oaths. If you would like to continue listening to that song instead of this, I wouldn't blame you. It's right there. It's also linked in the description. And then you can come back afterward and listen to Canto 43, which we will read right now. Canto 43. The kingdom of Zahur is established in the Dharma and the future lives of King Arsadara. Arsadara? A-R-S with a dot under the S? Adara. Dahara. D-H. Sorry, I don't pronounce things correctly. Okay, so King Arsadara, in his 8 palaces and 108 residences, speaking of good numbers, with the parasols flaunted at the pinnacles, gave himself up to the pleasures of the 5 senses. But when he made obeisant to the saint, that sovereign sun, S-U-N, who dissipates the night of ignorance, the saint explained to him the vast significance of the profound formulas. After the king had reflected, without becoming attached to asceticism, all at once in one single life, he acceded to the all-purity, with the explanation of the tantras and agamas, with the counselings from the uttermost depths of intimate abstraction, with the handling of and familiarity with practical matters, with the precious meaning with each element of karma, which each element of karma represents, with the principle inherent in every formula within its essence, with the annals of uninterrupted faith. He rapidly realized benefits for himself, for others, and for everyone. Having become of the divine race, absolutely purified, in conformity with both the greater and lesser vehicles, he asked that a dharma should be explained to him in one complete whole. And to the saint he made a gift of jewels. The great Padma of Udayana said, quote, King, amid the world's foolish distractions, it is difficult to take to heart the profound Dharma. These doctrines of the great vehicle and of the secret formulas cannot be thoroughly understood unless one receives initiation. Just as the cool clay blends into the water it is mixed with, only after initiation does one become the true vessel of the Dharma. End quote. Then the king and 20 great dignitaries withdrew into a pleasure park. Surrounded by sublime solitude and embracing the Dakinis, they received entire and perfect investiture in the powers. The king, amid the unceasing palingenesis, Editor Edward, if you don't mind, thank you, converted beings, each in keeping with his own path. And while thus dedicating himself, the sovereign, in a state of efficacious mastery, uttered the vow to set turning the wheel of the supreme Dharma. And the 20 great liegemen who surrounded him uttered similar vows, whereupon a voice could be heard in the heavens, and flowers fell. Then he of Udayana, Padmasambhava, in the course of a year, enunciated the 5 sacred tantras which protect the doctrines, and explained the 138 canonical treatises, the unified precepts of the Ati Yoga, the cycle of the Snying Fig, the Snying Fig, the 5 tetrads, that is to say, the 20 tantras, the 100 upadesas, and the 42 articles. By means of the texts and formulas, he established Zahur in the Dharma, and he put down in writing certain themes. A little later, in the Palace of the Prophecies, Princess Mandarava arranged a circular offering, and, after bowing 9 times, asked the following questions. Quote, "What is the difference between sutra and mantra?" End quote. Quote, "It is the distinction between cause and effect." End quote. Quote, "What is the difference between the implicit meaning and the definitive meanings of the texts?" End quote. Quote, "It is the distinction between the lesser and the great vehicle." End quote. Quote, "What is the difference between the relative and the absolute?" End quote. Quote, "It is the distinction between what is and what is not to be done away with." End quote. Quote, "What is the difference between wisdom and means?" End quote. Quote, "It is the distinction between existence and non-existence." End quote. Quote, "What is the difference between samsara and nirvana?" End quote. Quote, "It is the distinction between ignorance and knowledge." End quote. Quote, "How many past births have I had? How many will I have in the future?" End quote. Quote, "Fortunate woman, do not concern yourself with such things." End quote. Quote, "And my father, King Arshadara, what past lives did he have?" End quote. Quote, "As for your father, fortunate one, they were these. In Sulabha, the country's great city, he was born son of a Brahmin, king of Kalinga. He entered religion as a disciple of Lord Buddha in Benares. At that time, in Vikramasila, the Tirtikas were feared. So, at the change of the moon, he came to guard the 4 gates. The Tirtikas had stretched out nets and were about to start fighting, skillfully encircling them, arrows collaborating with swords. He swept away their army in one night, so that nothing remained of the land of copper, except a flock of orphans and widows." Flock? Is that what that's called? The merit gained by preserving the monasteries and the demerit of killing the Tipitaka soldiers were inseparable as the body and its shadow. Then he was reborn several times among the 6 classes of beings, and this was the existence that immediately preceded his present one, in Gau's song in India. One of King Arti's queens died while pregnant with a bastard fruit. After I had split the body, a girl appeared who was not dead. She it is who, after transmigration, was reborn as your father, and who has ever kept his oath inviolate." End quote. The princess was overcome with compassion for her father and wept. Quote, "And where," end quote, she asked, quote, "will his future existences be?" End quote. Quote, "He will still have a number of them. Through the process of rebirth, later in the kingdom of the monkeys in Tibet, he will be reborn as Akarma Tisila. Then in the land of ogres, he will be born the son of a Vedic doctor. He will then be reborn as the daughter of the king of Kotala, Princess Mandhabhadra. Later, after he has, among the Titans, heard the Dharma preached by Padma Gyalpo, in Nepal, as son of contemplative Buddhist parents, he will be reborn as Deva Akarkandra. Later, in front of Potala, the noble mountain, after he has heard Avalokitesvara preach the Dharma and has wandered amid heavenly joys, in the barbarian country, as son of Mutig. Prince Laje, he will be born, as the son of Mutig, Prince Laje, he will be born anew. Then he will live out 20 existences in Zahur, at one time an animal, at another time a king, now a great pundit, and now a man of the people, who will ever keep his oath inviolate." End quote. The princess spoke. Quote, "He bears transmigration like a stone around his neck." End quote. And she wept. Quote, "And when," end quote, she asked, quote, "when will the time come that puts an end to his existences?" End quote. Quote, "The 6 classes of beings, all that there are reborn so that they may win the supreme victory. When all living beings have exhausted all their lives, your father, fortunate one, will cease to be reborn. When by pressing sand one obtains oil, your father, fortunate one, will cease to be reborn. Thus to guide those in the round of existence, the spiritual parent, by passing through many births, will obviate the falsehoods that counterfeit the holy Dharma, in order that he may be, for the living, a lamp in the darkness, the king of omniscience, by undertaking to convert, forewarns others against the obstacles that might separate them from the Dharma, in order that he may indicate the path to those who lack support. The spiritual king, by accepting life in the cycle, renders ineffective the deceit that feigns to be the Buddha's teaching." End quote. Quote, "But transmigration, that stone around the neck, will it disappear?" End quote. Quote, "Wherever there is to be found the Buddha who has cast aside existence, there you will behold no more blemishes, fortunate one. And in nirvana, merits themselves lose their meaning." End quote. Thus he spoke, and for 200 years he dwelt in the land of Zahur. Of the history, unabridged, of the lives of the Guru of Udayana, Padmasambhava. This is the 43rd canto, the kingdom of Zahur, established in the Dharma. Sealed Same Vajra Guru chant, but with a different feeling. That version is here. It's also linked below. Let's read one more, shall we? Canto 44. The attainment as a knowledge of life receptacle. Then the king of Zahur, having ended his days, the kingdom came under his son Sarvapala, and behold, from the summit of the palace, the master from Udayana and his woman companion practiced the evocation of the knowledge of life receptacle. In order to lead the Dharma, the men of the Indian plain, in order to lead to the Dharma, the men of the Indian plain, those of Udayana, the Tipitakas, and many others, they began to meditate. Straightway, 4 goddesses who had seen them from the heavens made themselves visible, attaching golden double vajras to cushions. They invited the master and his companion to be seated. Bestriding a Gandharva, a dark blue fury, holding in both hands the scepter of the east, bestriding a Kumbanda, the yellow pincered one, holding in both hands the scepter of the south, bestriding a Nagendra, a red tongue of the time, holding in both hands the scepter of the west, bestriding a Yaksa, a green matron, holding in both hands the scepter of the north. They advanced toward the sky in front of Padma on Desanyaga mountain. At the summit, they spread out a turquoise-colored mist. At the foot of the mountain, facing the deep, swirling sea, a flower-enameled isle presented itself, and the land rang out with the sweet calls of various birds, and through a crack in the firmament, the first quarter of the moon could be seen shining. During this festival period, the Dakinis made their material appearance, reaching the palace at the summit of Mount Potala, that dwelling of happiness and joy, exempt from grief, sight radiating the power inherent in the stages of meditation. Now in the Martika cavern, thanks to the protector of the 3 ranks of blessed beings, though it was winter, flowers rained down. In this supremely excellent palace of happiness and benediction, once the entry of the mandala of Amitayus had been opened, for a period of 3 months, the knowledge of life receptacle was evoked. Amitayus, having reached the hither sky, placed the chalice of immortality on the heads of Padma and Mandarava. A kalpa had arisen in which the world would not be empty. The diamond being received the gift of immunity from birth and death, and after a profound concentration, distinguishing cycle and deliverance. He acquired the iridescent body of the knowledge of life receptacle, immortal breath, youthfulness exempt from demeaning old age, pure and of the same nature as the rainbow. Padma obtained life within a cycle that was not empty. Of the history, unabridged, of the lives of the Guru of Udayana, Padmasambhava, this is the 44th canto, the evocation of a knowledge of life receptacle. Sealed. O. Well, I'll admit that there's that part of my mind that wants to approach this as a historical document and thinking, okay, he arrives in Tibet in the 8th century. 200 years he was in Pakistan with Mandurava. At some point I got it into my head that, so Padmasambhava is from Udayana, which is west of the partition, so today it's known as Pakistan. And I don't know why I thought that Mandurava and Padmasambhava were from the same area, but Zahur, where this whole story is taken place, here's a picture of where they think it is. I'm sure that there's some debate, but this is the place that is, purported to be the old Zahur. It's in East Bihar, which is a state in India, the same state where the majority of the stories from the Tipitaka, where Lord Buddha and his disciples wandered in 6th century BCE. So this was, in generally that same area. There's a link in the description. The thumbnail for today's episode is that side of it is from that image that you just saw. And so if you notice where it says that today's thumbnail came from this website, you can click the link to that website and read more about where you can go in present day to be where all of these events took place. So that must have been the 500s? But I know that it's better taken as... These days, when you say myth, that means, oh, you mean fake. When you say story, oh, it means fiction. I like a couple of my teachers and guides, the way they put it is that it's mostly astral. That way it can be factual, just not of this earth necessarily always. But anybody who's ever had a dream knows that the astral is very much intertwined with this world. So I'll just leave it at that for now. That 44 was shorter, but very evocative, very trippy, very psychedelic. Today was good. No further thoughts to share. I hope that you enjoyed it. And next time, we'll keep on going. It'll be 301, so it'll be back to the Tipitaka, back to the foundations. And I'll go ahead and do our usual closing here on Buddhist Books Podcast. to the north and to the south, to the east and to the west, to the spirits of light among us and to the spirits below. We send out our reverent love and compassion. May all beings be happy. May all beings be serene. May all beings be in peace. Until next time.